Are you considering going to Costa Rica? Because if you're not, you should. And if you are, you've clicked on the right video. Today I am going to share all my tips, my itinerary, and everything that I did during my time in Costa Rica in the hopes of helping you out when you're planning your trip. My friend and I did a joint trip of Mexico and Costa Rica. Costa Rica was our second part of the journey, so we flew in from Mexico to San Jose. And then from San Jose we did a 15-day road trip around the country. So we hired a car and literally went around the country. So we started in San Jose, we went to La Fortuna. From La Fortuna we drove up past Rio Celeste all the way to Tamarindo. From Tamarindo we then drove down to Santa Teresa. We then made our way back to Monteverde. From Monteverde we drove down to Uvita, to Puerto Viejo on the Caribbean side of the country. And it's a very long drive, like trust me, break it up into 2 days. We stayed in Cartago overnight and then we continued the drive back down to Puerto Viejo. So I would totally recommend doing this combination of like backpacking and road tripping. I think it worked really well for Costa Rica, and if you have the opportunity to do it that way, I definitely think that it will allow you to have a lot more flexibility. Also, in the grand scheme of things, I do think it saved us money as well. As far as renting a car goes, definitely do a lot of research. I cannot take credit for any of this. My friend took on all the car related stuff. She was our driver and yeah, honestly an angel, and she took care of all of this. I cannot take any credit, and honestly it looked so overwhelming to me. I'll leave the car hire place that we went with on screen. They were very helpful. We got the full insurance, which I think is a good idea. I'm glad we did get the insurance on the car, so if you scratch the car or anything, you don't have to pay. I'm very glad we did this because even though most of the roads in Costa Rica are okay, like they're quite good actually, I was shocked, they were better than I expected. Do be prepared to drive through some dirt tracks and some very undeveloped roads, and you will make the car at the very least very muddy, very dirty. So yeah, just bear that in mind. As I said, we started in San Jose, drove up to La Fortuna. We did this, it was dark, like we did this during the night when we landed. Well, not overnight, but you know, in the evening. The drive is beautiful, you're driving through the jungle. We drove, as I said, in the night time, and it was still amazing. So I can't even imagine what it must be like during the day. Simply amazing. So when you're in La Fortuna, I feel like this is one of the main places that people visit. Of course, there's La Fortuna waterfall. There's Arena volcano, which I 110% recommend. You can hike at the bottom, at the base of the volcano. There's loads of different trails. You can go on a hike to the volcano with an organised trip, but we took a cheaper option and we did a trail, a self-guided trail around the base of the volcano basically. And there's like a lava trail as well, where 50 years ago or something like that, the volcano erupted and there's obviously remaining lava. And you can walk on that, and like that's part of the trail. Costa Rica is generally like quite expensive in those times where anything in nature you kind of do have to pay. I would say just be prepared for that. It's because they have a lot of emphasis on ecotourism and sustainability. They really take care of their nature and the jungles, so that is why you're paying. But yeah, just keep in mind it can get very expensive very quickly. Something free in La Fortuna that I would recommend is El Choyin hot springs.
Not too hot, it's quite a comfortable temperature, but this is like, the water is warm because of the volcano, which is so cool. And there's like pretty much no one else here, just a couple of other ladies over there.
I loved it. It was so nice because it wasn't like extremely hot. It was very nice, and you're just sitting in the river and there's the stream. You could hear the birds. It's beautiful, and it's so easy to lose track of time. One thing I will say though is that even though you don't have to pay entrance, there are people, and this happens all across Costa Rica. We saw this in so many different places. There's people that will take care of your car and they basically, when you park, it's meant to be free parking, but then there's these guards who ask you for money to look after your car, or they like help you park without you even asking and then charge you, sort of thing. That is an extra cost that I didn't know about before going to Costa Rica, but we saw it across the whole country. I'm not sure if you can avoid it or not. I'm not sure what the consequences would be, because I don't think it's official. I think it's people just there telling you that you have to pay them. So then from La Fortuna you could go to Monteverde, but that is not the route we took. We went up past Rio Celeste, and Rio Celeste is like this amazing like waterfall, and it's where two rivers meet, two clear water rivers meet, and the result of them meeting is this beautiful bright blue color. Like, it looks like there's dye in there. Like, I don't understand how that could be a real like natural thing, but it is.
It's the color because two rivers like come together, and this is like the minerals like mixing and the result of it. So chemistry.
There is the waterfall, and you can go to the waterfall. If you do want to go to the waterfall, definitely make sure you're there before 2 p.m. because they don't allow any more entrances after 2 p.m. We got there at 2:07 and they didn't let us in, so they are quite strict with that rule. I'm glad they didn't, because in the end we went to the river, like a little bit further down on the side of the road. There's access to the river, and that is free. It's just as beautiful. You can swim in the river, but you can't swim in the waterfall, I don't think. I would say I'm actually so glad that it worked out this way. It was, I would say, better, in my opinion. We continued the drive up to the Pacific coast. So our next stop was Tamarindo. And the main thing we did here was surfing. We explored a few different beaches. They have some beaches around there that have won various different awards. So we explored different beaches, swam in different areas. And that is mostly what we did there. I will definitely recommend the Airbnb we stayed in. It was super nice, and if you have a car it's good, but if you don't have a car it's quite far out the way. But this is a great place to learn to surf. Learning to surf in general was a little bit expensive, but I think it's because we did the semi-private lessons, so it was just the two of us. However, I would say we did see some like group classes, and there was definitely way too many people. I guess it depends how much attention you want from the teacher and how much like how serious you are about it, I guess, your budget, and it can be a bit dangerous if you're in a group, because everyone is going everywhere, no one really knows what they're doing. There's other surfers on the beach as well, and you also have to be aware of the riptide. So riptide, is that what it is? The rip current, yes, that's what it is. You have to be aware of the rip current. They also have like a food market, which I would recommend going to. You know me, I love a good food market. It wasn't the best one I've ever been to, but also I think we kind of went off season. So that was quite nice, but that did mean that a lot of the places were like closed, or yeah. We drove down to Santa Teresa, and this was one of my favorite places. Like, the beaches were just incredible. However, be aware that if you're driving, you need to drive through some rivers. We drove through 4 rivers, I think. The first one was definitely the most dramatic and the scariest one. Actually, there is a professional river crossing expert, and you pay him about $20 US, which is a lot of money, that he safely drives your car across. When you're in Santa Teresa, you will notice there are loads of like howler monkeys. Howler? Is that what they're called? Howler monkeys. They make excruciating sounds like in the night. I literally thought it was a dog like dying or something. It was definitely an experience. And this is the part of travel that I love, you know, like, it's not the tours, it's not the planned like stuff that you do, it's like small things like this. Anyway, we took a couple more surfing lessons here as well. I'm going to be honest, I preferred surfing in Tamarindo, but this place was also good. I just didn't get on so well with my teacher, I guess. So then we drove across to Playa Naranjo. and we took the ferry over to Punta Arenas. We had a few hours in Playa Naranjo. It was very quiet, no one really there, just a few locals. We went to the beach and then we drove all the way back up to Monteverde, where we did some hikes. We did the jungle sky walk forest thing. We hired some binoculars as well to look out for animals. We weren't so lucky with the animals that we saw, and we saw like one cool bird, and that bird we didn't need binoculars to see, like it was in front of us. It kind of looked like a bit of a turkey. So after Monteverde we drove down to Uvita, and this is where they are famous for the peninsula that looks like a whale's tail. So something we didn't consider was the tide. We wanted to see this, we didn't see it in the end, because when we got there you have to pay an entrance fee, and we were discussing if it was worth it, and then it kind of clicked in my brain, like, what if the tide is like high and it's like not, and it's just like covered it, then like it's just a normal beach, right? And we're paying all this money to get in, so like, yeah, so I asked the guide and or the guard at the entrance, and he said that yeah, the tide is too high at the moment, and that we've basically missed the opportunity to see the whale's tail. However, please remember that these photos are aerial photos. When you're there, you're gonna walk on it, but you're not gonna see, it's not gonna be so visible. I don't think, I could be wrong. Some more surfing, I think. My friend did some surfing here, but at that point I was like mentally done with the surfing. And I just chilled on the beach. There was lots of like friendly dogs, and I made a dog friend, and we were just chilling together on the beach. Actually here we stayed in the weirdest accommodation I've ever stayed in. I wouldn't actually recommend it. I got the worst night's sleep there. My friend didn't mind it, but for me I thought it was like too humid. But we stayed in like a container. I was also low-key afraid that I was going to wake up in the morning transported somewhere else. It was time to go over to the Caribbean side, and I loved this side of Costa Rica so much. So we went to Puerto Viejo de Talamanca, and this is a stunning area. It also has a lot of history actually, and it's a mixture of beautiful beaches, the jungle, history, like I loved it. I would recommend actually visiting the Jaguar Rescue Center, and this place, don't expect to see jaguars, they don't have any, but they have a lot of animals that have been rescued. Some of them will never be released back into the wild, but some of them are on programs to re-release them into the jungle. It's very interesting. You take a tour, there's specific times of day where you take a tour, and it's all volunteer based. But yeah, so we stayed there. There's a lot of people biking around. There's a national, like there's a nice park nearby. There's Punta Uva Beach, which was quite nice as well. You could do kayaking or paddleboarding as well, although in my opinion it was quite expensive, so we didn't do it. Overall in Costa Rica, I have some food recommendations for you. So for breakfast, you typically eat desayunos. It varies from place to place. And you usually have like a meat of your choice or vegetables, which is what I always went with, and then rice and beans, sometimes plantain, and then the dish that you would usually eat is casados. It was such a simple meal, but so amazing. Every place did it slightly differently. Again, you had rice, you have vegetables, you have a protein of your choice, whether it's meat or beans or whatever. I had so many amazing, like it felt so clean and fresh and healthy. Also plantain chips, oh my gosh, this trip I learned how much I love plantain. Costa Rica was a lot bigger than I expected it to be. Like the driving times were huge, like it was at least 4 hours from place to place. I didn't expect it to be that long, I'm gonna be completely honest. If you can spend more time, I would recommend it, otherwise 15 days is about enough. You will probably have to make some sacrifices if there are a lot of places you want to visit. Knowing a bit of basic Spanish, like learning a few phrases before going, combined with some basic knowledge of other languages, for me personally, it makes such a difference because you can communicate a bit with locals. Also, you're in their country, right? Like, don't expect everyone to speak English to you. This is sort of the attitude I have wherever I go. But I think that brings us to the end of the Costa Rica travel guide. If you want to see exactly what I got up to in Costa Rica, I have the playlist up here. Have a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Bye!